Okay, so this is something that was talked about this past month, and it was a big deal when it broke in the news, and it's still a big deal to this day because obviously, um, the issues and the dangers affiliated with social media is something that has taken a toll on many people within the past couple of years, especially children, and so much so to a point where multiple social media platforms like Meta and Instagram, basically they have been hit with lawsuits because the argument has been made by attorneys from different states that's pretty much harming the mental health of the youth, and it's causing a mental health crisis, or it's contributing to a mental health crisis that already exists. Because let's be honest, I honestly feel like for the past couple of years it seems like for the most part the country's been falling apart. People have been losing their minds, they don't care anymore. And I think social media definitely has a hand in all that, because before social media became a thing in America, this wasn't really much of an issue. Um, like for the most part, I do think that social media has definitely, in some ways, led to the downfall of, I guess, society. But the thing is, like with Meta and Instagram and all that stuff, because I've been on and even Facebook, 'cause I've been on Facebook before. Um, I use Instagram here and there, but it's like those platforms are sometimes more trouble than they're worth, especially considering the stalkers you have to deal with, and they're gang stalking BS. And then you have all these unwanted ads and stuff, and you say you're not interested, but it still comes to your account all the time. Like stuff like that kind of, like, it bothers a lot of people. But I think, like with children, it's something that, like, it easily distracts them to a point where I guess it has negatively affected them in various aspects of their personal lives, maybe with education being one of them. And I think it's gotten so to a point where a lot of parents have done nothing but complain over the past couple of years. And it's gotten to a point where it's ultimately led to this, and they just want to take action. And they decide to take action through the states. But is Facebook, Meta, and Instagram harmful to children? I think social media in general is harmful, not just to children, but to adults as well. Because I mean, children don't commit the kind of crimes that adults have committed within the past couple of years. Because I think social media, like, because I never like remembered a time in history where we have had more mass shootings in America than we have in the past couple of years. And you look at like all that, and you see that correlates with social media becoming very popular. And I remember when social media started to become a thing, like around the late 2000s, early teens, we weren't having problems. People used to go online, whether it be YouTube or Facebook, and they used to post stupid things, and they just did things for attention and what have you. But it seems like as we got towards like the mid to late teens, it seemed like things have gotten worse. And for the most part, like, you can go to almost, I wouldn't say almost anyone, but you can go to a handful of people and they'll tell you that, social media at times could be very toxic, because you're just trying to mind your business and do your thing. And then you have a bunch of trolls and a bunch of angry people who just, they show up and they just post nothing but negative things. And there are just some people who really do not want to put up with that. And the thing is, you never know like who you're dealing with when you're on social media a lot of times. So if you're a kid and let's just say you're just doing whatever, then you could have an adult on the other side just basically saying derogatory things and all that stuff, and that person doesn't even know that they're talking to a kid or what have you. So I do feel that like what I just talked about was is more like among adults than it is with children. But I do feel that for the most part, like like Meta and Facebook and those type of platforms definitely create anxiety and depression in a lot of people. And obviously there have been like studies and like correlations made between the two, but I don't think it's going to be one of those deals where if social media just disappears altogether, everything is just going to go back to normal. I mean, it would probably make life like a little bit better in America, but that's not necessarily promised because we have way more like serious issues in America, like concerning the economy and all this other stuff. And like for the most part, I'm not really a Facebook user anymore. I haven't used Facebook in years, mainly because of some of the stuff that was talked about when I guess the news broke that Meta and Facebook was being targeted by multiple states and parents for how it was harming children and causing depression and all that stuff. And the funny thing about all this is the fact that Mark Zuckerberg like knew the warning signs were there, but for whatever reason, like he ignored all of it, and now you know they're in the position that they're in right now. And honestly, like, Zuckerberg in general has been, like, dealing with a lot of backlash, like, within the past few years concerning Meta. And, you look at all of, like, the money they lost and, like, the employees that they lost. And it's like it's absurd, how like something like that would have happened because nobody would have predicted this. Like with Facebook, like nobody would have predicted that Facebook would be where it is right now in comparison to where it was like in the late 2000s, early teens. 'Cause I remember at one point Facebook was the most popular platform out there, even before Twitter. Even and I wouldn't say before MySpace. I think MySpace was popular before Facebook, and then Facebook eventually overtook it. But but it's unbelievable, like how much money, you know, like um, like Meta has lost, and how much money Facebook has lost and how far Facebook has fallen from grace in terms of like what it once was. Because now people are looking at it like, you know what, I probably should have just kept my MySpace profile, even though a lot of people don't use MySpace in general. But I think at this point, Instagram is more popular than Facebook, depending on who you ask. But Instagram is not all that better either because you have all these like the logarithms on Instagram is just so strange because somehow it's like you get targeted by groups of people that you want nothing to do with. And no matter how much you try to put you're not interested or wave them off, they just keep showing up, showing up, showing up. And I honestly believe that, like, for the most part, like, social media is definitely bothering a lot of people, and obviously something needed to be done about it. But I think for the most part, social media in general is just harmful to Americans. Life was a lot better before social media, or when social media was in its early phases, where you just went up there, you you posted whatever, and nobody really cared, and the people liked it, and the people who didn't like it didn't like it. It's not like that anymore. It's like nowadays people take the time and the opportunity to, I guess, gang stalk and all that crap because they're a bunch of losers. And then and obviously, like with children, and what the social media platforms is doing to them, they're pretty much trying to do everything they can to make their platform addictive so that teens keep using them. But at the same time, it's something that, like, attorneys, like state attorneys, feel is predatory, and it's something that is not only harming children, but it's something that's negatively affecting their grades and all that stuff, which is something that parents are upset about. So this whole thing is a mess. And obviously, like, Meta, for the most part, has, like, misled a lot of people about the dangers of social media platforms. Maybe it wasn't intended to be as destructive as it ended up being, but at the end of the day, it is. And as a result, Meta and various other social media platforms find themselves in hot water. And and I believe like with like Meta, there's like at least like 33 states going after them, and like this looks like it's going to be a case that's where like billions of dollars are going to be involved, and I'm not exactly sure how much money Meta's going to end up losing, because Lord knows that Meta has already lost like a ton of money. And I believe like it was reported like this past month that the metaverse had lost like over 46 billion like since like 2019, and that's a lot of money. And that's before like this whole issue with like children and their mental health being negatively affected. And I believe it was reported earlier this year that like Meta had lost like 13.7 billion on Reality Labs back in 2022. And there's been a lot of like complaints with Zuckerberg, you know like pretty much like mismanaging Meta and the metaverse and all that stuff. And like people have said the same thing about Elon Musk and Twitter, and people feel like at some point he's going to eventually end up driving Twitter, which is now known as X, into the ground. But I don't think like Twitter is as bad as Facebook is, or Meta is, or what have you, because like ever since I had quit Facebook years ago, I never went back. I don't intend on turning back. And honestly, like I wouldn't be surprised if like social media just went under like within the next couple of years, because of people becoming more and more discontent, and people starting to realize that like social media is kind of like one of the big issues like in America right now, because like for the most part, like people are far less social than they were like in the teens, or like the early teens, or in the 2000s or the 90s. And it's funny because like this is all called social media. It's basically designed to get people to interact and to be more friendly, and it's done the exact opposite. People have become more antisocial and miserable than ever. So I mean, I don't see like, these platforms like Instagram, Facebook, or Meta going anywhere, because they're worth like millions and billions and all that stuff. But if if all these lawsuits keep going on like from different states about how their platforms is or they're like very destructive, and it gets to a point where people keep complaining, and there's always like these things about it negatively affecting children, all that stuff. If this keeps going on, then I mean, people might just like boycott like social media altogether, or they'll just find another new platform to become emotionally invested in.